Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. Smackdown tonight was from the Kia Center in Orlando, and this show sucks. This show absolutely sucked tonight. It was boring. Outside of Roman Reigns and the whole bloodline stuff, everything else on this show was awful. I mean, Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade, it was a good match, but everything else, aside from that, just awful, in my opinion. Yeah, we had Nia Jax's championship celebration. Oh my God. That segment, it had Vince McMahon written all over it. It felt like something that Vince McMahon put on the show. It's like, oh, Vince called up Triple H and be like, hey, I got an idea for Nia Jax's championship celebration. Oh, I'm going to send it to you. Put this on TV, pal. Oh, wait until I get to that segment. God. But on tonight's SmackDown, we had Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade. We had Blair Davenport in action, and she had taken on Naomi. We had Kevin Owens versus Grayson Waller. And the main event, we had the Street Profits versus DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. That was SmackDown tonight. Overall, awful, boring show tonight. SmackDown needs a reset, in my opinion. Monday Night Raw is, in my opinion, the best show of the, 4 shows that we watch every week. From, NXT, which I watch NXT, AEW Dynamite, and SmackDown. Monday Night Raw is the best out of all of them. Oh man, nothing happened on SmackDown outside of Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. That's all there is. If you did not watch the show tonight, you missed absolutely nothing. But before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video, I did a movie review of Dee Dee. Check it out if you guys haven't seen it. Really enjoyed that film. Good coming-of-age story. It's a small, film that, is in theaters at some, theaters, and it was at the Sundance Film Festival this year. But really enjoyed the film. Definitely go check out my review of it. And it's a film that you all should, check out if you could find it at, theaters around your area, if it's playing there. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up tonight, and it opened up awful with the Nia Jax championship celebration. I swear to you, like I said before, this had Vince McMahon written all over it. This felt like a Vince McMahon booked segment. So Tiffany Stratton and Pretty Awful, Pretty Deadly were in the ring. Elton Prince, Kit Wilson. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know where this show is going. Like I said, if Pretty Deadly is on the show, you know that the show is going to be absolutely awful. So in the ring, there were pink and white balloons, set in there. Tiffany Stratton ended up introducing the new women's champion, Nia Jax. So Nia Jax's music ended up hitting, and she was being pushed down to the ring as she was sitting on a throne, which was on a table. So she was being pushed down to the ring on that throne. So she got into the ring. Pretty Deadly was shown bowing down to Nia Jax. Tiffany Stratton placed the Women's Championship onto Nia Jax's shoulders. So Nia then got on the mic. Nia ended up telling Tiffany Stratton that she shouldn't have done all this. To which Stratton ended up saying that it's Nia's big moment, and after everything Nia did for her, she wanted to give back. So Nia then ended up telling Stratton that it's an awful lot of pink. And Tiffany was like to Nia, "Oh, do you like it?" So Nia ended up telling Stratton that she appreciates her, but it's not her style. Nia ended up saying that her style is more destruction, and she had proven that at SummerSlam when she destroyed Bayley. Nia ended up saying that she proved that she is a woman of her word, where she said she would take the Women's Championship from Bayley, and she did just that. She wanted to say not only is she the queen of the ring, she is the new Women's Champion. So the fans end up booing at Nia. Once again, Pretty Deadly bowed down to Nia. So Nia ended up saying that everyone in the locker room better bow down to her. She ended up saying, what better way to start than with Tiffany Stratton to bow down to her? So Tiffany then asks Nia if she wants her to bow down right now, and she is glad they are on the same page. Tiffany Stratton ended up saying it's why she ended up bringing Pretty Deadly, because they will sing Nia a song, and after that, they will bow down to her. So Pretty Deadly ended up saying that this is a preview of their musical. Oh, God. You can already tell how awful this segment was. So Pretty Deadly ended up singing Nia Jax a song about how great she is. So they began to dance. It was show tunes that Pretty Deadly were doing. And that brought in Mia Yim. Mia Yim came in from behind, and she ended up hitting a kendo stick to bolt Pretty Deadly. She then ended up hitting Nia Jax with the kendo stick. Stratton and Nia Jax ended up leaving the ring. Mia Yim began hitting Pretty Deadly with the kendo stick across their backs. And pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. Awful fucking segment this was. This segment gave me fucking diarrhea. That's how awful it was. You got Pretty Deadly in there saying, "Oh, we're going to sing a song to you, Nia Jax, there's a preview of our musical." And then, "Oh, it's show tunes. Da, 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 da." That's all it was. What an awful segment this was. This was the worst segment of the year, in my opinion. God. And then we went backstage, and we saw Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi watching what went out there, with the whole Nia Jax championship celebration. So Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill end up talking about how they are going to win back the Women's Tag Team Championship. So Carmelo Hayes walked in, and he ended up interrupting them. He ended up asking them if they are showing up to his after party after he beats Andrade. Jade ended up telling Hayes that Andrade has 2 wins against him. And pretty much that was basically that. And then we had the first match of the night. Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. This is their 3rd matchup here. 3 matches already with Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. And they have been good. And this match was another banger. This was, in my opinion, the best match of the night. Very good match from Andrade and Carmelo Hayes here. Match got underway. Carmelo Hayes ended up rolling out of the ring. Andrade ended up chasing Hayes. Hayes got back into the ring. Andrade got on the ring apron. Carmelo Hayes ended up going for a kick to Andrade, but Andrade ended up coming back with a kick to Hayes. Andrade then climbed to the top rope, but Hayes ended up tripping Andrade up. Hayes then landed a springboard clothesline. He went for the cover, but Andrade ended up kicking out. Carmelo Hayes ended up running to the ropes, but Andrade delivered a drop kick to Carmelo Hayes, and that sent Hayes to the outside. Andrade then climbed to the top rope, and he delivered a moonsault onto Hayes. Andrade then threw Hayes back into the ring. Hayes then ended up rolling back to the outside. Andrade ended up grabbing Carmelo Hayes, but Hayes ended up hanging Andrade up on the top rope. Hayes then climbed to the second rope, but Andrade tripped Hayes up. Andrade climbed to the top rope. Hayes ended up pushing Andrade, and Andrade ended up falling to the outside. And then SmackDown with the commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Andrade was in control of the match. He landed a Spanish fly off the top rope to Carmelo Hayes, which was great. Andrade ended up going for the cover, and Carmelo Hayes ended up kicking out. Andrade ran to the ropes, but Hayes delivered a super kick to Andrade. Hayes then grabbed Andrade, but Andrade came back and delivered a snap suplex to Hayes. And then Andrade delivered a second suplex. Andrade ended up going for a third, but Hayes ended up reversing it, so Andrade was trying to go for the Three Amigos. Hayes, like I said, reversed the third suplex, and he slammed Andrade with a cutter. So Hayes ended up going for the cover, and Andrade ended up kicking out. Hayes went to the ropes. He ended up hitting Andrade with a knee to his head. Hayes then went to the ropes, but Andrade delivered a spinning back elbow to Hayes. Andrade went for the cover, and Hayes ended up kicking out. So Andrade ended up grabbing Carmelo Hayes. He ended up going for a sunset flip. Hayes then ended up grabbing Andrade's legs, and he ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Carmelo Hayes ended up winning the match. So Carmelo Hayes has one win against Andrade. But post-match, we had Carmelo Hayes end up glowing in Andrade's face. Andrade was about to leave the ring, but Carmelo Hayes ended up grabbing Andrade. Andrade came back, delivered a right hand to Carmelo Hayes, and both men started punching each other. Out came officials to break up the brawl between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, but both guys kept on fighting, so officials had to, of course, try to break them up again, and pretty much that was basically that. But overall, very good match between Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, and in my opinion, it was the only best match of the night. You know, Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, put on banger after banger matches. You know, Andrade had 2 wins against Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes finally got his win over Andrade here. And then we had a vignette hyping up Giovanni Vinci. So we had another, vignette from him as we saw last week. So they're prepping up for Giovanni Vinci's return. And then we had Naomi versus Blair Davenport. This was boring, in my opinion. We had the NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez. She was, at ringside, sitting floor, just watching the match between the both of them. So the match got underway. Both Naomi and Blair Davenport were delivering right hands to each other. Blair Davenport ended up throwing Naomi into the ropes. Naomi ended up hitting Blair with the rear view, that awful move. Can't stand that rear view from Naomi. Such an awful move. So Blair Davenport ended up falling to the outside. Naomi was on the ring apron, and she ended up landing, a split onto Blair Davenport on the outside. Naomi ended up throwing Blair Davenport back into the ring. Naomi climbed to the top rope, and she landed a crossbody onto Davenport. So Naomi ended up going for the cover. Davenport ended up kicking out. And then SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Naomi was in control of the match. She delivered a back elbow to Davenport. And Naomi then landed a split splash on Davenport. She ended up going for the cover. Davenport ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, Blair Davenport ended up getting Naomi in a tree of woe. She jumped onto Naomi down onto the canvas. She grabbed Naomi and she ended up hitting Naomi with a knee to her face. Blair Davenport ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Blair Davenport ended up winning the match. Awful, boring match this was. I mean, do you all care what was going on here? I know I didn't. I know a lot of you probably didn't either. Match was unimportant. And then we went backstage. Grayson Waller was shown warming up for his match. And Grayson Waller ended up asking Austin Theory why Austin Theory threw him under the bus. Theory ended up telling Waller that he will be there with him. They ended up talking about how Kevin Owens has been losing to the Bloodline for 4 years, and that is why Cody Rhodes has given him a championship match. Kevin Owens then walked up from behind Grayson Waller, and Kevin Owens ended up telling Waller that he is right. Kevin Owens ended up telling Cody and Nick Aldis last week that he is a loser, and he probably even lost to Waller. Kevin Owens then ended up telling Waller that it will be an easy win for him, and he is an idiot for turning down a potential title match. Kevin Owens then told Waller and Theory that he will see them in the ring. So pretty much, that was basically that. And then we had a tribute for Alpha Anoa'i because Alpha Anoa'i passed away today. Thoughts and prayers go out to the Anoa'i family, especially Roman Reigns. So very well done tribute it was for Alpha. And then we got Grayson Waller versus Kevin Owens. And this was just a very meh matchup here. We had All Ego, Ethan Page, in attendance. Of course, Ethan Page is the NXT champion. And it was good to see him, at ringside, sitting in the front row. But the match ended up getting underway. Kevin Owens delivered a drop kick to Waller. He ended up stomping on Waller in the corner. Owens ended up throwing Waller into the ropes, and he landed a back elbow. And he followed up with a senton onto Waller. Waller then rolled to the outside, and Owens ended up pinning him with a clothesline on the outside. He then threw Waller into the barricade and slammed him face first into the commentary table. Owens then delivered a chop to Waller's chest, and he threw Waller back into the ring. Kevin Owens and Austin Theory were face to face on the outside. Waller went back to the outside, and he hit Owens with the clothesline. Waller then grabbed the steel chair, and he had a seat in the chair, glowed into Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens stood behind Waller and threw him onto the floor. Kevin Owens then threw Austin Theory over the barricade. Waller then threw Owens into the ring post, and Waller then delivered a DDT to Owens. Waller then threw Owens into the ring. He ended up going for the cover, but Owens ended up kicking out. Waller then climbed the second rope. He walked the second rope, and he landed a elbow. It looked like a very weak elbow delivered to Kevin Owens from Waller. So Waller ended up going for the cover. Owens ended up kicking out. Waller then placed Owens on the top rope. Waller was going for a superplex, but Owens delivered a right hand, and he headbutted Waller. Waller then fell onto the canvas, and Kevin Owens then delivered a swanton onto Waller. Kevin Owens ended up going for the cover, and Waller kicked out. Owens went for the stunner. Waller ended up rolling him up, but Owens kicked out. Waller was on the ring apron, and he hung Kevin Owens up. Waller went to the outside. He ended up running and jumping in between the ropes, but Kevin Owens ended up hitting Waller with the stunner. He then threw Waller into the ropes, and landed a pop-up powerbomb onto Waller. Owens then ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Kevin Owens ended up winning the match. Post-match, Owens threw Waller to the outside of the ring, and he threw Waller into the Prime hydration station, next to the commentary table. Owens ended up going for a powerbomb, but Theory grabbed Waller, and Waller ended up pushing Owens into the ring post. So Waller ended up throwing Owens back into the ring. Theory then grabbed 2 steel chairs. So Cody Rhodes' music ended up hitting. Cody Rhodes made a beeline down the ramp into the ring. Cody ended up hitting Waller with a steel chair across his back, and Owens ended up hitting Theory with a steel chair across his back. Waller and Theory went to the outside of the ring. Cody and Kevin Owens were in the ring. Owens ended up grabbing Cody's undisputed WWE Championship that was on the canvas. He then looked at it. He gave the championship to Cody and left the ring. And pretty much that was basically that. So, looks like maybe we're possibly going to see maybe Kevin Owens turn heel. And, we're going to have the match at Bash in Berlin. But we all know that Kevin Owens is not going to win the title at Bash in Berlin. And then we went backstage, and we saw Tama Tonga and Sol Sikoa. Tama Tonga ended up telling Sol Sikoa that he acknowledges him. Sikoa ended up telling Tama Tonga that he knows and that he loves him. But tonight, Roman Reigns needs to acknowledge him. So that was basically that. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Legado del Fantasma. And they were having dinner. Santos Escobar ended up telling, Elektra Lopez, Humberto, and Angel Garza that they have been ignored and undermined week after week. Escobar ended up not to allow them to forget who they are. He ended up saying that they will not have their legacy diminished. Escobar ended up saying that next week he will take the United States Championship from LA Knight, with everybody saying Escobar. So pretty much that was basically that. Really like how they do like these dinner, promos with Legado del Fantasma. They did that, one time and really liked it. And we saw Titus O'Neil, in attendance, so he was there at SmackDown tonight. So out came LA Knight. LA Knight was on the ramp, got a big pop from the crowd. He does this whole shtick, he goes, "Let me talk to you." Knight ended up saying that looked like a fun dinner to be at. He ended up saying that Escobar is trying to be like him. But next week, Escobar will forget where he is when he catches him with a BFT, the blunt force trauma. Knight ended up saying that as for himself, he won't forget where they will be. The nation's capital meeting. The nation's champ. Knight ended up saying that he doesn't have time to be worried about Santos Escobar. He had to tell Escobar to call him what he wants. But any week he wants, he will put him on his ass and still be United States champion. With everybody saying, L.A. Knight. Yeah! So pretty much that was basically that. So, decent promo from LA Knight. And then we went backstage. And Mia Yim was leaving Nick Aldis' office. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, they ended up stopping Mia Yim. Chelsea ended up thanking Mia Yim for ruining Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton's, ceremony, Nia Jax's championship celebration. Chelsea Green ended up telling Mia Yim that she was going to help her out there earlier, but it was a lot of fun watching her attack Nia Jax. So Mia Yim ended up telling Chelsea that she just spoke to Nick Aldis, and she has a women's championship match. So Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, they both were angry. They stormed into Nick Aldis' office. Nia Jax came from behind and pushed Mia Yim into Nick Aldis' door. So out came Nick Aldis. He ended up breaking it up between Nia Jax and Mia Yim. And pretty much that was basically that. So there you go. Mia Yim is getting a women's championship match against Nia Jax. We all know how that's going to go. Nia Jax will retain. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had the main event. DIY, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa versus the Street Profits. This was the number one contenders match for the Tag Team Championships. And this was a okay match here. We saw Trick Williams. He was there for SmackDown in attendance in front row. So the match got underway. We had Montez Ford and Johnny Gargano start off the match. Ford and Gargano ended up doing some reversals. Ciampa was then tagged in, as did Dawkins. Ciampa ended up going to the ropes. Dawkins delivered a shoulder tackle to Ciampa. Dawkins delivered a spinning back elbow to Ciampa, and he tagged in Montez Ford, and the Profits double teamed on Ciampa. Gargano got into the ring, and we had the Profits end up hitting Gargano with a double flapjack. Gargano and Ciampa went to the outside. Dawkins then delivered a run shoulder tackle onto Ciampa, and then SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, the Profits were in control of the match. They ended up double teaming on Ciampa. Dawkins ended up going for the cover, and Ciampa kicked out. Dawkins climbed to the top rope. He ended up going for a swanton to Ciampa, but Ciampa moved out of the way. Ciampa then delivered a knee to Dawkins' face. He ended up going for the cover, and Dawkins kicked out. Gargano was then tagged in, and DIY double teamed on Dawkins. Gargano went for a DDT, but Dawkins ended up catching Gargano and slammed him onto the canvas. Ford was then tagged in, so Johnny Gargano and Montez Ford ended up delivering, double clotheslines to each other. And then SmackDown went to another commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Montez Ford was in control of the match. He delivered a zigzag onto Ciampa. Montez Ford climbed to the top rope, and he delivered the 450 splash, but Ciampa got his knees up. Ciampa then tagged Gargano in, and DIY ended up hitting the Shatter Machine to Montez Ford. So Gargano ended up going for the cover, and Dawkins kicked out. Ciampa was then tagged in. Dawkins got thrown to the outside. Montez Ford delivered a jumping knee onto Ciampa. So at the end of the match, we had Gargano delivered a suicide dive onto Montez Ford. So we had Ciampa end up getting to the ring. Dawkins ended up hitting Ciampa with a swinging neck breaker. Ford was then tagged in, and they had planned a super blockbuster. And Montez Ford went for the cover, and there you go. The Street Profits ended up winning the match. So the Profits are the number one contenders for the Tag Team Championship. Overall, okay match it was. And then we went to the final segment of the night with the Bloodline. Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga were in the ring. Solo Sikoa ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying to acknowledge him. And the fans were chanting OTC. Of course, for Roman to come out. And Roman Reigns has been really over with the crowd. Sikoa ended up saying that they don't want to acknowledge him. He knows one man who needs to acknowledge him. So Sikoa ended up telling Roman Reigns that he calls himself OTC if he wants the Ula Fala back for him to come out and take it from him. So pretty much Sikoa was calling out Roman Reigns. So Roman Reigns' music ended up hitting, got a big pop from the crowd. Everybody was holding up their finger in the air. So Roman then got into the ring, Both him and Sikoa went face to face. Sikoa took the Ulafala off, and he gave the Ulafala to Tama Tonga. Sikoa ended up telling Tama Tonga to stand in the corner. So both Roman Reigns and Sikoa delivered some right hands to each other. Sikoa then fell to the outside. Tama Tonga ended up hitting Roman from behind. He grabbed Roman, but Roman ended up slamming Tama Tonga onto the mat. Roman then ended up throwing Tama Tonga to the outside of the ring. Roman then went to the commentary table and he cleared it off. Sikoa then ended up hitting Roman from behind and he threw Roman back into the ring. Sikoa ended up going for the Samoan spike to Roman, but Roman ended up ducking the Samoan spike and he ended up hitting Sikoa with a Superman punch. Roman then delivered the spear onto Sikoa and he saw the Ulafala in the corner. At this point, the fans were chanting for Roman. They were chanting OTC. Roman then grabbed the Ulafala. He placed the Ulafala around his neck. So Roman's music ended up hitting, but out of nowhere, Jacob Fatu got into the ring. And Jacob Fatu ended up hitting Roman with a super kick. So Fatu, he is okay after that table spot that we saw at SummerSlam, but he was wearing a boot. So I guess it's a legit injury, but Jacob Fatu is selling it. So Fatu ended up throwing Roman into the ring post, and he threw Roman to the outside. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga lifted Roman up onto Sikoa's shoulders, and Sikoa powerbombed Roman through the commentary table. Jacob Fatu threw Roman back into the ring. Sikoa then stood over Roman, and Sikoa then wears the Ulafala, and SmackDown ended with Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga raising their fingers in the air. And that was how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, this was a good segment here. The Bloodline and Roman Reigns stuff is, the only best thing going on SmackDown, so far. Very interesting, thing that's going on. Outside of this, what else is going on SmackDown? Nothing. Overall, this show was awful. This show was boring, in my opinion. That Nia Jax championship celebration, god awful, diarrhea inducing. And the only best match of the night was Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, with Carmelo Hayes finally getting the win over Andrade. So, SmackDown was awful. But anyway, that's it for the SmackDown review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until the next video, I'll see you all later.